All right. So, what do you guys think about the very first part? So, what's our attention grabber here? What do you have?
Well, I mean, well, I think we're asking, does technology help in the classroom or not? Is it a positive or is it a negative?
Raise your hand if you understand.
Positive or negative? So,
You know, I mean,
there's aspects of both on there.
what do you think? Technology a positive or negative in the classroom? So I think
I think it's a little bit of both, Vic. I honestly think it's like a little bit of. I think it's both positive and negatives. It has its benefits, as I stated before. Like you have access to a vast majority of information, but the negative is that it's a vast majority of information and people's opinions and not necessarily facts. So we still need to teach how to decipher what is fact and what is not, and I don't think technology does that for a person yet.
now,
Or a student,
I could counter that. I think technology actually gives you some significant tools for disaggregating data. And I think that there's opportunities we actually need to use technology to keep people from being overwhelmed with technology.
Right, there's
So-
tools to decipher data, but not opinions. You know what I'm saying? Because when you start putting people's opinions versus facts, like when a student goes out there and searches for items, I mean, as technology teachers, you teach them, hey, you know what, you're supposed to go to, there are proper sites to go to. Make sure you always check your sources, make sure you use facts and not some random person's opinion, like Wikipedia, right? There's a lot of deciphering of what is fact and what is a person's opinion. What do you think?
I agree. Good critical thinking skills and good critical analysis skills are more important than they've ever been. The data is showing that data is doubling every 2 years or more. That being said, I think those skills can be embedded. The skills that you're talking about have been relevant since the beginning of learning. Being able to look at data, analyze data, critically reflect on data. Those are just as important as ever. And it does. The only impact to me technologically is I have better tools to help kids decipher those vast amounts of data, and that's not going to change. Data's going to double again 2 years from now. The kids need tools that help them go analyze data and apply data and use it more effectively in a quicker way.
So when you say that data doubled, what data?
The quantity of data, the quantity of information in the world doubles every 2 years.
Okay, so like if a student was looking that up, like what would be a reliable source to go and look at? So
Part of that is, so there's the Moore's law about data doubling and the ability to process the data doubles about every 2 years. And so Moore's law has been pretty accurate and pretty spot on. I just don't think it's something that we're going to run away from. AI is already the AI tools are being built to assist humans in the overwhelming ability to cipher through data. I think, to me, what's more critical is the digital divide, where people don't have access to data and they're being highly marginalized because you cannot be competitive in the 21st century. So we're really talking about tremendous poverty happening and displacement of entire generations of people because they don't have access to the technology necessary for current farming, marketing their products, knowing what the latest fertilizers and chemicals are. And I think that's the overwhelming problem. Yeah, I wish kids knew how to do cursive, but I'd rather them be able to analyze data.
It's not just about knowing cursive. It's about reading and writing and arithmetic. That is, to me, gone by the wayside in elementary school. And there's so much technology being used in elementary school they are not learning the basics.
But they didn't know
the question is-
basics when I was
But
teaching
the
math
question is, are some of the
in
basics
1990s.
necessary?
Yes.
That's not the problem.
So then-
Are some of the
Yes.
questions
I'm
necessary?
not going to
So,
blame
Yes.
so I want to bring up the point. I want to bring up the fact that you brought up AI and how AR is assisting people. But I'm also gonna play devil's advocate.
Sure.
AI, we have all of these apps, these interactive apps. We have all this, social media, and I think it's also increased our social emotional issues now, right? Yeah, at least in the school setting, I feel that I've had to encounter that a lot. I think a lot of those problems that
I agree with you.
students can't deal with certain issues on their own has to do with a lot of social media. And I think that's where I'm like, yes, technology has certain positives and negatives.
Well, yeah, you can add that to where the research does show. Sorry, point back to me. That the social media, the longer someone spends on social media individually on a regular basis, the higher propensity they have to be depressed. So you saw it also show because what they do is they show a false narrative of their own life, of how great their life is, but reality may not be great, and they're actually not experiencing interacting with people, just displaying to others what their ideal life might be like, but in reality, that's not what they're experiencing, and therefore that increases the social emotional issues that we tend to see at the school level. And that's pretty much what we start seeing on a regular basis. So, and also the other factor which you guys discussed, which was the ability to find credible sources. And some websites, because anybody can create a website, and then all of a sudden, with their inability to read on a regular basis, it's not totally their fault though, because what ends up happening is that they're fed tons of information on a regular basis. They're bombarded with information, and they don't know how to decipher what is a good source, what is a bad source. And some sources tend to masquerade or ghost themselves as a good as a reputable source, and all of a sudden it might be a totally biased source, and we start seeing that happen more and more. That's the challenges we face. I agree, there's a lot of benefits, but there are some costs with those benefits.
I totally respect all your opinions and I agree with them. That being said, I look at every one of those as a teachable. Like, you can teach people to moderate their social media use. You can teach people to critically analyze where they're gathering their data for. Those things they're teachable, they're solvable, and I don't believe the technology is the problem for it. They get overwhelmed, maybe sometimes the kids, but on the positive side, social media has allowed kids to become much more open about their lives. I don't see as much stereotyping. They have a way of speaking out that they never really had. They have a way of feeling heard that they haven't had. I think it's just one of those things where we have to adopt our teaching to really help them decipher those things. I see a lot of the peer counseling and how good that is, and how much the kids are learning to adopt their socio-emotional needs. And those things are just being triggered by a lot of different things going on in society. But I'm not going to blame technology for that.
But I like that you said that you agree, you bring it up that it's a teachable moment. Like, you can teach kids to monitor their social media usage. You could teach the kids to basically monitor their internet intake, right? Like how much you're using. However, us as a district, we're giving students a one-to-one device, right?
Sure.
And parents can only monitor things that they have access to. For example, parents can monitor their phones by setting downtime, and their downtime is during school. It's a great thing. But then they have a device that we hand to them, right? And they're able to, bypass that monitoring station, right? So then they have a device in which they are monitoring their social media, even though somebody's teaching them at home not to do that.
And I think you're triggering on one of the most important things is when it reminded me of the fact that I've read that Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, Elon Musk,
Thank you.
have all limited the amount of
Exactly.
time that their kids have
Thank
access
you.
to both the internet
Right.
and how they use the internet.
Because they know based on their they get massive amount of data based on the industry in which they are professionals in, correct? And they know and they've seen what influence and what influence it has on a person, and they don't want that for their children. But yet for us,
They don't take it
I,
away.
I,
They're
think,
not
I,
Luddites.
I think we can
Right.
illustrate it here with the video clip here that been on social media where a lot of people tend to
thank you, Victor.
Um, we tend to see it here. Let me see it.
Yes, Mark Zuckerberg.
They all of them limit. But I mean, they allow their kids a couple hours. But I agree that unlimited amounts of time on the phone, being on the phone.
So
online,
let's see.
And I do snap at them. I'm talking. That's rude. Put it away.
Wait a minute, are we still recording? Or
Yeah, we are. So
Okay.
I'm trying to look here. I'm trying to pull up the right video here.
So, Mr. Wu, we haven't heard from you. Everybody.
So still stay focused on what we're talking about here. Let's see. I'm trying to figure out real quick. There goes. This one here. On this video clip where he illustrates it.
We know that engagement with social media and our cell phones releases a chemical called dopamine. That's why when you get a text, it feels good. Right? So we've all had it when you're feeling a little bit down.
When I open a bottle of
So
wine,
you send out 10 texts, 10 friends, you know, hi.
No comment.
Because it feels good when you get a response, right? Right? It's why we count the likes. It's why we go back 10 times to see if it's going. If my Instagram is going slower, that doesn't mean wrong. They don't like me anymore, right? The trauma for young kids to be unfriended, right? Because we know when you get it, you get a hit of dopamine, which feels good. It's why we like it. It's why we keep going back. Dopamine is the exact same chemical that makes us feel good when we smoke, when we drink, and when we eat. In other words, it's highly addictive. We have age restrictions on smoking, gambling, and alcohol. And we have no age restrictions on social media and cell phones, which is the equivalent of opening up the liquor cabinet and saying to our teenagers, hey, by the way, this adolescence thing, if it gets you down. But that's basically what's happening. That's basically what's happening, right? That's basically what happened. You have an entire generation that has access to addictive, numbing chemical called dopamine through social media and cell phones as they're going through the high stress of adolescence. Why is this important? Almost every alcoholic discovered alcohol when they were teenagers. When we're very, very young, the only approval we need is the approval of our parents. And as we go through adolescence, we make this transition where we now need the approval of our peers. Very frustrating for our parents, very important for us. It allows us to acculturate outside of our immediate family. It's a highly, highly stressful and anxious period of our lives. We're supposed to learn to rely on our friends. Some people, quite by accident, discover alcohol and numbing effects of dopamine to help them cope with the stresses and anxieties of adolescence. Unfortunately, that becomes hardwired in their brains, and for the rest of their lives, when they suffer significant stress, they will not turn to a person they will turn to bottle. Social stress, financial stress, career stress. That's pretty much the primary stress. Right? What's happening is because we're allowing unfettered access to these dopamine-producing devices and media, basically it's becoming hardwired, and what we're seeing is as they grow older, too many kids don't know how to form meaningful relationships. Their words, not mine. They will admit that many of their friendships are superficial. They will admit that their friends, that they don't have many friends, they don't have friends, they have friends. But they also know that their friends will cancel on them if something better comes along. Deep meaningful relationships are not there because they never practice the skill set, and worse, they don't have the coping mechanisms to deal with stress. So when significant stress starts to show up in their lives, they're not turning to a person. They're turning to a device. They're turning to social media. They're turning to temporary. We know, the scientists clearly know that people who spend more time on Facebook suffer higher rates of depression than people who spend less time on Facebook. Right? These things balance. Alcohol is not bad. Too much alcohol is bad. Gambling is fun. Too much gambling is dangerous. Right? There's nothing wrong with social media and cell phones. Keep in balance. Like, if you're sitting at dinner with your friends and you're texting somebody who's not there, that's a problem. That's an addiction. If you're sitting in a meeting with people you're supposed to be listening to and speaking, and you put your phone on the table, face up or face down, I don't care. That sends a subconscious
I
message.
don't know. I have mine is on the
Is this guy talking? 'Cause I-
That's what the fact that you cannot put it away.
Mine don't even have my phone with me.
Like, you
Okay, so it's pretty much getting to the point that we're talking about here, where
That's interesting. But again, like, how do we decipher who is this? Who is he?
well,
Wait,
it's,
no, who is he? Like, is he?
that's Simon Sinek.
I'm sorry? He's an
Yeah,
author
that's
or
Simon
what?
Sinek. So he has longer conversations on these.
He's wrote several books, but he's kind of well known for his TED Talk on leading with the why. So it's you focus on why first, then you focus on how and why. Where typically people know what they need to do and how to do it, but they don't know why. So
What's his background? What's his education background?
formally, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I got to hear him speak last summer. He's awesome.
Yeah, and the thing is, this leads to our. I showed this actually on one of our staff development days last year, year before.
His TED Talks are really great, and his talks on here are awesome.
Yeah, and what it does kind of leads back to the point where technology is great, but there's some downsides to it. And it's evident when, like, in my classroom, I tell students, bags, wires, and phones.
Yeah.
Bags off the desk, wires off your body, and phones out of sight. But the reality is, as soon as and they follow.
That's the issue. It's students not understanding how their brains work, and the fact that our brains can't multitask.
Well, and the thing is,
It's task switching.
well, that's the thing. I actually show them a video clip on the ability to pay attention and multitask, and it
I have
shows
a
them.
slide deck that I built that talks about multitasking and how your brains can't really do it. And then it goes into 6 top things that engage students. It could be used with teachers.
Yeah, I actually have a video on an experiment that was done on a parent that said that he could text and drive at the same time, and pretty much showing that he couldn't. They actually showed that he couldn't, and they threw obstacles in his way, and eventually he did crash into the obstacles because of the fact he's switching. He's not doing both at the same time.
I started, I actually found a video, there's a commercial to not text and drive, and it's a group of teens, and their girl's gonna respond to a text really quick, and she runs a stop sign, and a semi just plows the car, and it shows the impact, and it's like, why couldn't it wait? So it's the same
Well,
thing in
it's
class.
the same idea when you like. I actually teach the kids. I show that same studies on students will put on their earbuds, listen to music as they're reading. You can't.
You can't do two
You can't.
cognitive things at the same
Yeah, because they're.
time. Just like you can't do two physical
But
things.
then they ask the question as to why do I put music in the background as they're reading? That's like it's slow. There's you can't hear it, but it's like background noise when you're at a store.
Yeah,
You don't pay attention, it's there. But
like a
it's there.
Starbucks.
But you're not listening to the words. Your brain is not actually focusing on that. When it's written in your ears, you're listening to the words. You're listening to what the meanings are. Now you can't.
Well,
You
they
can't
actually
interpret.
recommend classical music, right? So they're gonna listen with no words.
Yeah.
Classical.
But even at a softer level, because if it's at a higher level, what ends up happening is that their brain starts to occupy.
Like, I get that. Okay, so one of the
I'm going to end it right now because of the fact that she told me to end. So I'm going to end it. So that's our conversation there in our podcast. All right, bye.